The Urban Impact Show is sponsored by Green and Wood Media Services. Green and Wood uses digital media to help businesses, political campaigns, and organizations grow while increasing their community impact. Green and Wood Media is pleased to offer a digital media buying fellowship to train, develop, and mentor young people interested in digital media, politics, and advertising. Learn more at greenandwoodmedia.com. The Urban Impact Show is sponsored by Green and Wood Media Services. Green and Wood uses digital media to help businesses, political campaigns, and organizations grow while increasing their community impact. Green and Wood Media is pleased to offer a digital media buying fellowship to train, develop, and mentor young people interested in digital media, politics, and advertising. Learn more at greenandwoodmedia.com.
Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Black excellence, black beauty, and black pride. Black power from all diasporas coincide. Progressive truth and regression eventually collide. May the beauty of the people no longer be set aside. May the black queen's grace continually mesmerize the millions who couldn't see it when looking into her eyes. And the black man's plight no longer be the disguise. Oppression, emasculation, they wanna castricize him. Take him away from the black queen, put him inside prison for slave labor, he institutionalized. Wondering on the outside, is she willing to ride? Is she willing to ride? Is she willing to fight for the love, even despite the fact that he doing time? Love that conquers all will never fade with time. If she don't choose the love that appreciates every life, his flame might get dim and he may eventually.
Welcome back to the Urban Impact Show, and thank you so much for taking out time of your day to tune in with us. As you all know, this entire month of October, we are talking to candidates locally here in the state of Iowa about what's going on, why they're running, and what we're doing voting while black. It is so important for us to understand why these candidates are running, what's happening in our local communities, where is the money going in our local communities, what's going on as far as policy in our local communities. Now, we completely understand that we have a lot of viewers from other places across the country, and so we thank you for continuing to tune in with us and check out what's happening here. Please continue to share this content because we want to make sure that people are in the know. Yes. People name who appear on the ballot, you need to know who they are, what they're talking about, what they stand for, and why you should or should not vote for them. These conversations are not endorsements. These conversations are not us pushing one candidate over the other. These are they who have answered the call to come on to speak who they are and what they stand for. So we all should appreciate to make this thing and to do what we can to make our community a better place, not just for us, but for our youth. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please, I talked for an extra couple minutes just so people could continue to press the share button, because this is about sharing this positive content. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Real quick, Brittany, you want to say hi real quick before we?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Urban Impact Show, where we will talk about voting while black.
Hey, we'll be right back. Our first candidate is right here in the hot seat. His name is Josh Mandelbaum, and we're ready. We're ready to get you some answers. Matt's going to take us to a quick break, and then we'll be right back. All right, we are back. That was probably the fastest break the Urban Impact Show has ever taken. So we have Josh. We're going to go ahead on and pass him the mic so that he can introduce himself, tell you who he is and why he's running, and then we'll ask him a couple questions. Then we'll let him out the hot seat.
Great. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be here on the Urban Impact Show and get a chance to talk with everyone. I'm Josh Mandelbaum. I'm the current Ward 3 City Council member. And a little bit about my background. I grew up in this community. I'm a Roosevelt High School graduate. My wife and I are raising our kids here. They're Des Moines Public School kids. They're at Greenwood Elementary. And I come to this with a policy and legal and environmental background. So I used to, early in my career, I worked for Governor Vilsack and Lieutenant Governor Peterson on their policy staff. When they weren't running for re-election, I went back to law school. And I'm currently practicing as an environmental attorney. I work at a nonprofit, and I do clean water, clean energy, and climate work as part of my day job. So I bring that perspective with me to the city council. And I've been on the council for 4 years. So I was first elected 4 years ago. This is my first re-election campaign. And one of the things that I like to talk about, when I'm in a campaign, a lot of it is about talking to people, and I knock a lot of doors. I knocked a lot of doors my first time around, knocked a lot of doors this time around. And a few weeks ago, I had a pretty unique experience. Unique in all my times knocking doors, not just for me, but for other candidates. And it was just a few blocks from where we're sitting at. It was in the Drake neighborhood. It was on 21st Street, which is not a through street. It was a street that I was getting to the last house before the interstate. I walk up to the door. I knock on the door. The man there opens it, and he's like, "Oh, Josh Mandelbaum, I've been meaning to reach out to you," which is not an uncommon thing. Like, I get that from a lot of constituents. So I was like, "Well, what about?" And he's like, "I want to know if you're related to the person who built this house." And it turned out that my great-great-grandfather, Julius, built that house in 1906. Right. I didn't know about it. I went home. My dad didn't know about it. Like, no one in my family knew that had been a family house at one point. But that reminded me, and that piece of my family's story is part of what motivates me to do this work. So my great-great-grandfather, Julius, came to Des Moines as a German Jewish immigrant at a time when German Jewish immigrants didn't necessarily have opportunity everywhere. But in Des Moines, he did. He was able to open up a dry goods store, grow a business, end up making a better life for himself and his family, and what turned out generations of his family. And he built that house some 30 plus years after he came to Des Moines. And it's still standing today. But that reminds me and motivates me, because that is exactly what a great city does. It provides opportunity for anyone and everyone who wants to be a part of that community. Anyone who wants to be in the community, who wants to help build the community, who wants to be a part of the community, a great city provides opportunity to everyone. And that's the kind of community that we're working to create each and every day on the council. That's sort of the North Star and the guiding principle behind what we are doing, is creating that type of community where everyone can create a better life for themselves and generations of their family. And so we're doing a lot of different things to help do that. It's everything from taking care of basics. So we're doing the largest street and storm sewer repair program in city history right now, which people probably notice because they're a good chunk of roads that are torn up, can make it a little difficult to get around.
Yeah, there's only 2 seasons in Iowa, Josh. There's a winter and construction.
That is true, but yeah. We're fixing the roads. You know, when I started on council, only 22% of our roads were in good or excellent condition. And with the investments we're making, if we keep up that investment, we'll get to 50-60% in good or excellent condition. We're doing things like improving public safety. So we banned racial profiling. We required de-escalation and implicit bias training from our officers, and took us a little while, but we got it right. We're having an independent third party do that de-escalation training. And I talked with one officer, and they said that that was the best training that they've had in their 16 years on the force. So we should be seeing results from that. We published our police policies and procedures online for the first time, and we created a policy and practice review committee to look at what we're doing and how our policies compare, excuse me, compare to national best practice. So we're working on improving public safety. We've got more work to do. We had a marijuana task force, and I think we should make marijuana enforcement the lowest enforcement priority for our police, and we should pass an ordinance to do so. But there are other things that we can do. We can engage with the state legislature. So I was part of a group that has been pushing the legislature to make marijuana, to treat marijuana essentially like alcohol. Legalize it, treat it like alcohol.
Josh, let me do this because I know we got a bunch of candidates coming up behind you, and I know we want to get you going to the next event. It's been a little sticky in this city, City council has been shut down by protests before. There's been a lot going on. People haven't always been happy with what's been going on over at city council. Can you explain to our viewers what exactly does a city council member do? Like, you all make up the body that governs the city, but you are one vote on this council. And so people have to pay attention to these other races as well, not just yours. So can you give just a quick little rundown on what exactly can people expect out of someone that sits on that council?
Yeah, so I'm one of 7. Mm-hmm. So there are 4 ward council members. I represent the 3rd ward. There are 2 at large, and there's the mayor. And so you need 4 votes to be able to do anything on the council.
Yeah.
And so it's about building a coalition, excuse me, about building support. And you got to work to get folks together around any idea. But you should expect, and everyone should expect, that their council members are accessible and willing to meet. Some of the folks who've been frustrated with the council, I've met with them. It was during COVID. We had Zoom meetings and multiple meetings with some of them. One of the things that I think there's sometimes there's a difference between listening and engaging with someone, and you can still end up disagreeing.
We disagree a lot.
We disagree, but yeah. But the key to a constructive conversation, and what everyone should expect, is to look for those areas of common ground.
That is true.
And look for the pieces that you can move forward together and take those steps. And that's what I've always been willing to do as a council member, and what I'll continue to be willing to do.
Yeah. Brittany, did you have a question for Josh before we let him out of here?
Just before you go, and for some of our listeners, if you could, I guess, close us out with what would be your top 3 priorities. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of, different parties, but top 3 that those voting for you or looking to vote for you can kind of know that these are going to be your top 3 priorities.
Yeah, so some of it's continuing the investments we're making. So the examples for that, we got to continue the investments in roads and infrastructure, our neighborhood revitalization program, what we're doing with Invest DSM, and taking that out citywide with our Block Grant Challenge. We need to continue those type of things. We need to continue working to improve public safety. And the big change that I think needs to be made, we can identify more public safety calls that we can respond to with mental health professionals the first time. And I think that would really be a big change and a big improvement in service by responding to more public safety calls with mental health professionals. And then the third piece is we're working on a comprehensive climate action plan. And we need to get that in place because in the short time I've been on council, we've had 3 climate disasters. We had the flash floods of 2018, the derecho last year, and then this year we've got a drought that is threatening our drinking water. So if we don't act, we're going to face it on the other end. And so taking a comprehensive approach to climate change and sustainability is another important piece of what we need to accomplish as a council.
So thank you all so much for continuing to tune in. We got some more candidates coming up. How can people get a hold of you if they're looking to either get involved or see more information about your candidacy?
Yeah, so we've got a website, votemandelbaum.com, that has a ton more information on the things we've been up to, the things we hope to do, and a way to get in touch with us. We're also on social media, Facebook, Josh Mandelbaum IA, Instagram is the same, and then also on Twitter. So feel free to follow along in any of those forums and reach out. Would love to hear from folks.
Remember, people, everything that you do as far as locally goes through your city council. I get that we all vote for our presidentials and and our congressional and Senate people, but what happens in your actual city, if you want your road fixed, if you want a grocery store in your neighborhood, if you need things zoned, it's going to start at city council. Please make sure that you're registered to vote. And when should they show up to go vote?
So election day is November 2nd, but folks can vote now. Essentially every day is election day. So Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you can vote early at the auditor's office. It makes it a little more convenient for folks. We want you to vote. We want everyone to vote. So if you can vote early, that's a great way to take care of it.
Early voting has started. Want to take us a break?
All right. We'll be right back, guys.
The Urban Impact Show is sponsored by Green and Wood Media Services. Green and Wood uses digital media to help businesses, political campaigns, and organizations grow while increasing their community impact. Green and Wood Media is pleased to offer a digital media buying fellowship to train, develop, and mentor young people interested in digital media, politics, and advertising. Learn more at greenandwoodmedia.com.
All right, welcome back to the Urban Impact Show. I'm one of your hosts, Brittany Judgment. Today we are talking about voting while black, and we will kick off our second.
Yeah, we got our second guy in the building. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what you're running for.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Lloyd Elam. I'm running for one of the two at-large positions for the Des Moines School Board. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Mississippi. After college, I spent some time working in local government in Dallas, Texas, fire and police department. I also worked in corporate America, worked for WAMU and Bank of America. Spent many years traveling, transitioning mortgage accounting divisions. I had a $2 billion portfolio that I was responsible for, mortgage lending. After that, I felt this tug on my heart to go into West Dallas, and I became a community organizer, organizing people against blight in their neighborhoods, to make sure that, slumlords who were renting properties out to people who were engaging in illicit activity, that we stopped that so people could enjoy the property. I transitioned over once I got here from that small solar company in Texas with oil that's not going anywhere. Got here and became an energy auditor. I work with people at 200% below the poverty line. They have to reduce their energy load, thus put more money in their pocket once we do weatherization efforts. I got into this race because, when I think about if the topic is voting while black, one of the things is throughout my life is that a lot of politicians have always come to the community and talked about Egypt. I went to churches once and talk about it. They tell you about the problems in Egypt, how Egypt is tough. They tell you that all the downsides of Egypt. But what I have never heard and very seldom hear is how to get to Canaan. And to me, Canaan is an education. Canaan is community-based banks in communities where people can get loans that they can actually invest in their community. And Canaan is safe neighborhoods. Malcolm X has this great comment. He says, education is a passport to the future, and those who prepare for it today on tomorrow for some degree, not the exact words. So I advocate in the area of education. I'm advocating for things that I think universally will help, young men and women of color, right? Not only young men and women of color, but I think it's universal that regardless of what your race is, your gender, your sexual orientation, your income level, it actually works for you, right? So the things that I advocate, make sure that schools are safe, that it's an environment for learning, so that kids develop the social skills necessary in order to be able to interact with one another, so that when they get out in the world, right, some of the issues that they'll face, they actually know how to navigate through those so they can keep a job. One of the hot things that I kind of get tickled about a little bit is about class size. I advocate for that because I think a lot of our children start in a lot of ways behind the eight ball. They start behind, they don't necessarily have the development early on that they need. And so smaller class sizes allows teacher to give a little bit more instruction to that child to help them get where they need to be, right? I talked to a lady at Come and Go in Urbandale, and she said, I hire kids, but they don't necessarily, when they get there, a lot of them can't operate a cash register. So I believe that we've got to not cheat our kids, but I think we got to challenge them with we got to set real high academic standards so that when they come out, they're branded, right? If you talk to people from HBCUs, they know what they're talking about when they come out because, I went to Mississippi State. The professors are totally different. They are serious about learning. And so I really want to make sure that we set high academic standards. And I want to make sure that, for especially, those critical ages for children, I think between, let's say 12, but let's just say 15 to 25, I want to make sure that when the child walks across that stage, that they actually have a plan forward. Because you can fall into that trap. I was in Dallas, used to see a lot of young girls that graduated from high school, saw them with my nephew. 2 or 3 years later, they were in trouble, right? So I want to make sure that a kid either goes to community college, the military, or go to work.
Let me jump in here really quick because I know we got some other folks coming up. So Lloyd, so you're running for one of 3 seats that are open, one of 2 seats that are open for the Des Moines School Board, right? Now, school board, for those who don't know, is unpaid. So please don't think people are running because they want some, they want to make something from tax dollars or anything like that. Tell us about kind of like the policy, because like what policy specifically for Des Moines Public School do you see that made you say, hey, I really want to get on that board so that I can help influence this? Can you give us like an example of something like that?
I don't think it's a specific policy. I think it's a general direction. I think when I watch some of the board meetings and I would see, okay, there are three fundamental goals, and really they're centered around African Americans, right? And I saw the low standard, right? Where 30% of African American males will pass out. Well, my question is, what happened to the other 70? Right? So we're saying we can try to help 3, and we're not even meeting that goal, and then the other 7. So to me, it's like, so what's the point, right? And I think that to get in there and say, no, we've got to really set high goals. We don't have a person to lose if you're in this global economic world that we live in.
True.
But if you look at all the job opportunities that are out there, I think there was a report on a Kale for Forbes or Fortune magazine, even before I moved here, and it showed based on just technical skills, it showed education levels, it showed non-education levels. People of color were way down at the bottom, specifically African American. So to me, it's if we're gonna set these kind of goals, then let's make sure that we actually get the results that we're looking for. And I think that's the thing that really got me.
Brittany?
And what would your top 3 priorities be? While the chair.
Yeah, I think all of them really, but I think but for vocational training, number 1, right? We've got to make sure people have some baseline of skills they can actually go to work and get a job.
The skills gap, right?
Right. Yeah, totally.
We looking at this unemployment thing, and folks don't have the skills because we are
right. And so we know if it's real talk, we're getting in real talk. Young men and women of color, they don't have skills to get a job, then they kind of go underground, and that's dangerous. And so we got to stop that pipeline. I want to really focus on vocational training through high school. Second thing is, I really am serious about class sizes. We got to get those class sizes down, because I was a C student myself, right? And my counselor told me I wasn't college material. But I had a mother who said, no, she don't know what she's talking about. And I, to this day, I really thank my mom for that. And I think the third one really is I want to make sure that, as history is a very important thing. 28 years ago, at 18, I watched Rodney King. 28 years later, there's George Floyd. And so I want to make sure that young men and women coming up today truly understand both the responsibilities and the rights that come with American citizenship, and how to be very pertinent parts of our democracy, to make sure that when you cast a vote, don't cast a vote for me because of the color of my skin. Don't do that. Cast a vote for me because when you look at that website at LloydElam.com, you say, this guy actually is serious about making a difference. And whether you're white, black, Hispanic, the difference that he'll make, you can see it. And so we talk a lot about equity and stuff like that. Then the stuff that I'm focusing on should be able to cover the basis for everyone, and no one should get left behind. And so those are the 3 things that I worry about, even if I'm starting to worry about if I somehow, by God's good grace, win this thing, to make sure I see this stuff through, because it's the whole reason why I'm missing nights of sleep, and I'm always working around the clock to somehow look up and win this thing.
And I think those are some 3 really good points. I remember growing up in California, and most of my classes were like 33, 36 kids. That's a lot of kids in one classroom. And, some things like math especially, it's like you need that one-on-one attention. So
repetition.
Yeah. So I think that those are 3 really good priorities.
So they can find you at LloydElam.com.
That's it.
And so if you go there, you can check out Mr. Lloyd's website. Give him a like or something on Facebook, or
like, share. But more importantly, you're entrusting somebody with the future of your kids. And so what I'm asking you is to go to my website and look at it. And if you think I'm worthy, then what I ask is to get your vote. And let me tell you something, I'm not going to disappear. I want to come here after that to report what's going on. And if you say, man, you're dead wrong and give me the third degree, give it to me. But if I'm right, say, hey, congratulations, man. Keep up the good work, that a boy, because I think that communication loop is often lost. So I want to be the people's politician. I want to make sure that the people's job is done so people can see things that really matter to them. So.
Well, hey, thank y'all so much for watching the Urban Impact Show. We have 3 more people coming up. Stay tuned. Press the share button right now because trust me, we got some more knowledge coming your way. Thanks so much for watching the Urban Impact Show. Thanks, Lloyd. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
The Urban Impact Show is sponsored by Green and Wood Media Services. Green and Wood uses digital media to help businesses, political campaigns, and organizations grow while increasing their community impact. Green and Wood Media is pleased to offer a digital media buying fellowship to train, develop, and mentor young people interested in digital media, politics, and advertising. Learn more at greenandwoodmedia.com.
Think soccer.
Welcome back to the Urban Impact Show. I am Brittany Dudley, and today we are talking about voting.
Yes, we are. Again, please press that share button. It is very vital that we get the information that these candidates are talking about because they are going to represent you if they're voted for and they have a seat on either city council or the Des Moines school board. Remember, early voting has started, so please do not hesitate Monday through Friday to go find your county auditor's office where you can go vote early and you can actually cast your vote for one of these lovely people tomorrow. So after you watch this, if you say, hey, I've been waiting on this so I can decide who I'm going to vote for, you have an opportunity to view them right now and then go in and you can go in tomorrow and cast your vote for one of them or for all of them that you may see here that you feel have earned your vote. So we're going to go ahead on and get it kicked off with our next candidate, Ms. Maria. We're going to hand you this mic. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're running for and why you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. So my name is Maria Alonso, and I am running for one of the 2 positions that are open for Des Moines Public Schools at large. So there's 2 seats. So I'm running for one of them, the at large. First of all, I'm a parent. I have 3 children. And one of the reasons that I decided to run is mainly because of the personal experiences that I have had as a parent and then also as a community member. So I have 3 children that have attended or attend public school. My oldest just graduated this year. And my oldest child, Javi, has a learning disability actually in reading and math. And so my child decided his last year and a half probably of high school that he did not want to go to school anymore. And now I come from Mexico. I came here when I was 13. I come from a small village in the northern part of Mexico. I was raised by my grandparents who taught me that going to school was and needed to be my biggest goal. And so when I was brought to the United States, I knew that I needed to go to school. I arrived and became a child of migrant farm workers, and the education I knew, I was told, was the only way to go. You go to school, you can succeed. And that was a message that I was trying to communicate, to convey to my children and to my son, who said, you know what, Mommy, I don't need to go to school. I don't need to go to college. I don't need to go anywhere. I'll be fine. If I just get a job somewhere, I'll just survive. And surviving is fine. That is perfectly okay. However, that really conflicted. It just clashed with this idea that I was brought up with, right? It's a value. Education is a huge value for me. It was education, public education has been a gift for me because I have been able to provide a home, stability for my kids that I grew up, I didn't know I was going to have. And so I believe in education because I am here because of it. So I said to my child, okay, so if you don't go to school, then what are we going to do? And he says, I don't know. My child didn't want to go to school because his words were, they don't get me. And my child is a very kind. He has the best kind heart. And I knew him, and I wanted him to be able to feel like he could succeed, like he could do anything that he wanted to do. Now, how could I do that? And I thought, I am a Latina woman who has been privileged to go to school. And here is my oldest child saying that he doesn't think he can do it. Where have I failed? Where have I been? Why is my child, with this mentality? And so I think that as parents, sometimes we allow other people to make decisions for us in the education system. And we don't realize the power that we give others to make those decisions for us. And I decided that it was time for me to stand up and say, you know what, I'll do it. I'll run. And I had so many doubts. And it was this very child that I'm talking about who said, Mommy, you need to do it. You know why? Because you just don't see yourself the way we see you. And
What were some of the doubts you had? Why do you think just because you felt that your son, him feeling like that was like something that you did or something that you made him feel that way? Or?
Doubts about me running or
About you running?
Yes. I didn't. So my community, I believe, works and survives. We arrive in this country, we first come, every parent that comes wants their child to have an education. We want to survive, and that's what we do. We are not represented very well in politics. And so being a woman of color, running for a position of leadership, who's really just a parent and a social worker, what kind of credibility is this person, or am I going to have in a system that is mostly run by people that are not of color? Yes. And so that was my first doubt. So who's going to believe that I actually have something good to say and that I can actually create some change? And, I'm not a politician. I've never done this. I have no interest really in politics. All I'm interested in is my kids, is the kids in our community. And, one of the things that I do in our community is, for the last 9 years, I have been coordinating. I co-founded a community soccer program, and it's a year-round soccer program. And I have been able to hear the stories of families and have seen the faces of children that are, for the most part, students in Des Moines Public Schools. I've seen the struggles and the desire of parents that want to be part, that want to be present, but are not, because oftentimes they don't know how to. And because oftentimes I believe they probably have the same doubts that I have had as a woman of color. And I want to be able, one of the things that I would love to see change in our district is the presence of our communities in the district. We are, there is such a disconnect. And I believe that if we can make a way for families to be present and be heard, then some true change can happen.
Let me ask this. I know we got a couple more guests coming up behind you, and so I want to ask this and then have you give us your information on kind of where people can find you and stuff like
Sure.
that. But, people say all the time, I don't have kids. You know, people say all the time, I don't have children. You know, why should I show up and vote in a school board election when my kid doesn't go to Des Moines Public School? You know, why should I care? Will you give us kind of your thoughts on that, and then give us your information and how people can find you?
Absolutely.
I'll give it mine.
I'll just take both.
That's funny.
You know, we were door knocking today, and there was an older woman that came to the door. And I said, you know, my name is Maria Alonso, and I'm running for school board. I hope we can get your support November 2nd. And she said, I'm sorry, you look really nice, but I don't have kids. And I only have, you know, grandchildren, and they don't even live here. But, you know, as a citizen, I want what's best for my community, not just, I'm not doing this because I'm going to personally benefit, but because I believe that me being present really can make things better for everyone. And it is so important for me to be able to exercise my voice, my power by voting. And if we do not take advantage of this privilege that we have, this right that we have, then how can we expect anything to change and be better in our community?
Tell us, how can people get a hold of it?
Absolutely. So we are using Facebook. My page is Maria Alonso for school board. And then also you can reach me via email. So Maria for dmps@gmail.com.
All right. Well, hey. Thank you all so much. As you all can see, again, early voting has started. So if you would like to vote for Miss Maria, you can actually show up tomorrow starting at 8 a.m. Go down to the polls and feel free to look her up. And remember, it's important. She told you, even if you don't have kids, you still need to go vote in this school board election. Look at what these candidates are saying. Make your decisions. Please go vote. Go vote tomorrow. Vote, vote, vote. Any other words, Brittany, before we go to break? Thank you guys for watching. Share, share, share. We'll be right back. Brittany, we are back with the Urban Impact Show because, you know, we care about voting while Black. We care that people of color show up to the polls, that they understand what's going on. A bunch of people went to church today, and, you know, I don't know if anybody saw anything that said vote, right? And so the whole goal of this show is for us to be able to bring awareness, and so people understand why it's important. Any decision that is made locally is made by somebody that was voted for. Period. Policy is ran by those who are sitting in those seats, and then they appoint people to other boards and commissions, things like that, right? Then you have the Des Moines School Board, which is why we have a plethora of candidates here today to give us their thoughts, opinions about why they're running and who they are. So we have another guest in the house, another candidate coming up. Miss Kim, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Good. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us who you are, why you're running, and really kind of why you. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for having me. I'm Kim Martarano, and I am your current District 1 school board member. I was appointed back in August of 2020. Heather Anderson was in that seat and is now teaching in Japan. And I was appointed by the board at a very interesting time. It's been quite a year, and I'm really proud of what we've accomplished as a board in the last year. We've managed to really look beyond some of the struggles that every school district is facing and focus on what is important to DMPS students, particularly our focus on improving student outcomes in literacy and math, as well as our focus on really moving the legislature in the right direction when it comes to putting policy in place and approval of appropriate funding for public education. We need that appropriate funding and proper allocation of those funds and proper allocation of our resources to ensure that we are doing right by our students when it comes to improving their overall experience at schools. We've also started to implement new policy called guardrails. Those guardrails have a heavy focus on student social emotional learning, as well as anti-racism and equity and diversity, hiring and retention practices. And I'm really proud to have worked with Dwana and Kelly on those. And I certainly want to continue to do that work and want to continue my knowledge base. I work for Johnston Public Schools. I'm their information system specialist. I run the entire student information system. I deploy Tableau data analytics for the district. I help identify students that are at risk and need assistance, and really enjoy that work. And I think that my role as a professional will really help and has already proven to be an asset to the school board and will do so in the future.
So what are some things, you're already in the seat now, and what are some things that you want to, I guess, for the school board to continue to focus on, like your top 3 things that are like hot buttons that you want to continue to focus on?
Yeah, these the new policies, the guardrails, I'm incredibly passionate about. I really hope that we as a board will move forward with approving these. I think that it will improve everyday life for our kiddos. I think the students need these policies to be in place for, one, to make a better learning environment and uplift the marginalized, unheard voices in the community. We have to reach out to the members of the community that we're not hearing from. We can't just continually hear from the same parents over and over again. We really need to have a broad spectrum of the entire vision and the entire values of our community. So focusing on those improved policies, focusing on improved student outcomes, particularly in the literacy and math, and then focusing on more transparent communication and a broad spectrum of communication for all of our community members.
Kim, you're right. You guys have had a tough year. You've had some mask stuff. You've had critical race theory. You've had some stadium stuff. You've had some budgetary stuff. It has probably been an episode of a reality show on that school board for the past almost 18 months. And first, I want to say thank you for serving. Thank you for taking time to serve, to help our youth. Let me ask this question. You're running because you want people to put you back in the seat. You want them to give you the job again. And so with that also comes, the responsibility that everybody may not agree with you. How have you kind of handled or navigated this year with all of the stuff? I mean, you guys have had George Floyd was a really big deal. Our students going back to school, opening the school back up, our current governor making decisions to try and come in and do things with the superintendent. It's been tough, or in other words, a little messy, so to kind of give the people a little bit of if you get back in there, how are you navigating these things, trying to make sure that you're making the right decisions and that you guys really are on the right path? Can you give us a little bit of that?
Yes, you have highlighted all of the most exciting parts of the job in the last year. So thank you for reminding me of them. Yeah.
Taking her back.
Absolutely. This is not an easy job. It is something, the gravity of this role is not something I take lightly. So with every vote that I made over the last year, I took it incredibly seriously. I researched, I learned, I listened. I went out into the community and spoke to those families I wasn't hearing from, spoke to the students that, I wasn't hearing from, went into classrooms, looked at the curriculum, looked at what was happening with our teachers. I asked questions, and I will continue to do that. I will not get it right every time, but I can guarantee you that I am going to put in the time, the effort, the learning, and the listening that is required to ensure that I am truly a representative of my entire district, and really the entire district, District 1, but the entire school district as well. I really pride myself in being able to listen and being here for our families that need us the most marginalized families, the families that don't have a voice, and making sure that with every vote, I am looking big picture. And it's not easy. It's, we have a very diverse community, and that's why I love it here in Des Moines and why many people love it in Des Moines. And we need to value that diversity and continue to have town hall meetings. After George Floyd, we had an anti-racist town hall, gathered a great deal of information from our community members. And that's what drove Kelly, Dwana, and I writing some of these new policies, because we listen to the community, what they need, and what's going to move us forward as a district as a whole, and really improve where our students are at.
Where can we find you at? Like, what social media websites are you a part of?
Well,
website?
Yeah, you'll find me knocking on doors from now until November 2nd. You may find one of these flyers sitting in your door now. My website is kimmartarano.com. I'm also on Facebook as well. You can email me, kim@kimmartarano.com. I am happy to talk with anyone that would like to. Just reach out, and certainly I would love to have your vote. If anyone is interested in volunteering and helping me knock doors, I will also take that help as well, but would love to meet you all.
Well, thank you so much again. Thank you for serving. Thank you for coming on to the Urban Impact Show. We have one more guest coming up, and I am excited because early voting has started. Please, again, remember, you can go vote. You can go vote Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. starting at 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at your local county office. Please go vote. If you've heard something today that has sparked you to feel inspired, also, as Ms. Kim said, feel free, get involved in one of these campaigns, get involved in what's going on, and we'll be right back with our final guest. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on. Press the share button.
Welcome back to the Urban Impact Show. I am your host, Brittany Bradley. And today we are talking about voting while black.
Yes, we are, Brittany. We have focused our attention on trying to make sure that our viewers are educated on who's on the ballot, because who is on the ballot is definitely something that you should pay attention to. And we can't just tell people, oh, just go educate yourself on who's on the ballot. Go look them up and figure out, what they stand for. That doesn't work.
Go to their website.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily work. So what we did here at the Urban Impact Show is we put out the ask. Anybody who wanted to come on, feel free to come on. And what you're seeing are those who have answered the call, to say it is important that we reach out to these constituents and that they hear our voice, that they know what we stand for, who we are, and why we're running. I'm excited about this candidate that we have coming up. I've had the opportunity to work with Jackie for a long time. And one thing I can say about Jackie is, even if you disagree with her, there are opportunities where conversations take place. And it is so good. We live in a world today, Jackie, where everything has to be so divisive. Is the correct phrase divisive, right? Is it divisive or divisive? We got school board stuff going, so I want to make sure I'm correct, and one thing I love about Jackie is that she's able to stand on her principles. She's able to stand on who she is. And if you disagree, which we did, and she's able to say, no, this is what I think. And I'm like, no, Jackie, this is what I think, right? And she's like, well, here we are, right? And so I think you need people who are willing to show up in these moments, right? I'm going to say it, we've had leadership that have decided that they buckle in these moments, that it was, I'm going to stray away from this, right? But I can honestly say, from working with Jackie, she doesn't run from those moments. She stands in the thick of it and she makes it happen. I want to be clear on this before I get in trouble. This is not an endorsement. I'm just explaining to you the relationship that I've had with Jackie over the past almost 3 years. And you know what? I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell you a little bit about her, why she's running, and really why she wants to earn your vote.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Brittany. I'm Jackie Norris. I am a candidate for school board. I am running for one of the 2 open seats at large, representing the whole city, which I think is really exciting to me, because I think it's really important that when you make decisions, you look globally at how things impact every member of the community. I am currently a small business owner. I have been a nonprofit CEO. I was the CEO of Goodwill of Central Iowa. I have had the super cool honor of serving as Michelle Obama's chief of staff in the White House. I have been a government teacher, probably my favorite job, working with high school seniors. And I have 3 beautiful, wonderful, kind of smelly, dirty boys in high school right now. Yes, that I make volunteer and show up. But all of those things, look, I have been blessed with a great set of experiences. And what I know is that we need people to step up and lead. And I'll tell you, the thing that is terrifying for me is the thought that public education might not exist in the way that it was meant to exist for every child, regardless of their zip code. And that's my why. That's why I'm doing this. I'm scared. It's going to be hard. And yet, people need to stand up and make sure that every child has a high quality public school to attend.
If you do gain the seat, what are your 3 main priorities?
I think there's kind of 2 policies, if you'd call them that, and one is a value system. I think that, oftentimes when you hear about Des Moines community schools, people will say the diversity is great, but, and man, how amazing that we have kids from so many different countries with so many different languages spoken, and that together all of these kids are learning. And yet what we know is when you look at who teaches our kids, we need more teachers of color. We do, period, end of sentence. I think the statistic in the United States is 80% of teachers are white. And so that is something that aggressive HR recruiting has to happen. I think we need to make sure that we have culturally relevant curriculum. I think Des Moines is taking a lot of strides on that, and we just have to continue pushing down that path. I also really believe that part of this is showing up, and this is something that I would just speak to something that Rob said, which is the way I learn is I just show up and I walk into existing communities of trust and ask for help. Look, I am on a journey, just like a lot of us are, to be the best ally I can, and part of doing that is asking uncomfortable questions, and so my hope is that when people say, my kid goes to Des Moines Public Schools, we say, isn't it an awesome public school? And people are, yeah, that's right. We remove the but. That's exactly right.
Let me ask this, Jackie. So you and I had the pleasure of working together on the Biden team, and on that, we were working hard to get all of our different constituency groups. We're working hard to get African American, Latino. We were working hard to get faith, right? And so there was a big push on making sure that a certain group of people showed up to the polls. Why do you think it's important for us to make sure, like for shows like this, to make sure that these different constituency groups are showing up to the polls to make sure that their vote is being cast?
Yeah. Marie actually said something, and I think she referred to she's family members under such great stress. Yeah. You've got a lot of people that are feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders, whether it's financially, it's emotionally, it's kind of from a mental health perspective, and so if they don't show up, they're not electing the people who best represent their interests and who best connect with what their interests are. And so I can't stress enough that if people are in the place where they are of feeling busy, it takes 10 minutes to vote. It really does. It doesn't take a long time, and it has impact for 2-4 years or longer in the people that they elect to office.
Brittany, any other questions for Jackie?
Where can anyone find you?
So you can go to JackieNorris.com. You can email me at info@JackieNorris.com. And you can find me on Facebook, Jackie Norris for School Board. And I love questions, even the ones that I don't know the answers to. I'll find out. It's how I grow. It's how I learn. And I welcome any dialogue and debate.
Well, look, you have had the opportunity to listen to I know it's been a lot of information thrown at you today. We're going to take a quick break and be right back and close out this show. But we're super grateful for all of these candidates who have shown up. Again, remember, there are 2 at-large seats available, and then you have different ward seats that people are either up for re-election or are running for. So please don't hesitate. Go vote on Monday. You have heard from these candidates right now, so you have no excuse to say, I don't know them. So you've heard their voices now, even if you didn't even know that they were on the ballot until now. You have you've heard it, right? You have an opportunity. You do. Yes. Yep. Please, I cannot stress this enough. Please go vote. We'll be right back. Jackie, thank you so much for coming on. We'll be right back to the Urban Impact Show, and we'll close this out. Thanks, Jack.
A lot of great candidates today, and a lot of people that I didn't actually know. And my son goes to Johnston School, so it's like it was important to me to talk to people on the school board and think about who I need to vote for on the school board. So I think it was a lot of good information today. A lot of websites that I'm going to take some time viewing and kind of.
Don't forget. So Johnston School Board has have people who are running right now. Also, I know this can be a little confusing sometimes because people are like, my child goes, I live in Des Moines, but my child goes to Waukee, right? You vote where you live, right? So if your child is in the Waukee district, you may not have a vote in that district because you will be voting in the Des Moines district. So I just want everybody to understand, if you live here and your child goes here, wherever you live is where you're going to vote.
It'll be the Pope.
It'll be based upon where you vote. So you're the district in which you vote in. And I know in West Des Moines there's some little weird line drawn where you can live in West Des Moines and still be considered in the Waukee district or something like that. So I just want people to really please pay attention to that, and understand that when you show up to vote, your child may be in a different district, but understand you're paying taxes in the district where you live. And that money is going towards somebody's education, and you need to show up and vote for that. You know what I mean?
Nevertheless, it just sparked different idea to me about who to vote for and what it means to vote for your school district or the chairs and things like that. So, thank you to everyone today who came and shared with us their passion and their vision for their seat.
Well, we're here at the final end of this show, and as always, I like to just make sure that you understand that we are extremely grateful and thankful for you showing up. This is a part of what we do. We don't do this because we just simply have nothing else to do. We do this because we firmly believe in bringing out education. I want to be clear on something. Our Black boys particularly are failing in our school system. And unless we take full steam ahead of getting people put in place that will help with policy to help make sure that these babies are not in a prison and not in a school to prison pipeline, the only way we can do that is by showing up to the polls. So I want to please, not just for you, not just for your baby, but for your baby's friends, for our family members, for those who you may not even know, one vote can decide this election. Just one. We had a congressional race where 6 votes decided who went to Washington to represent us. Just 6. Don't let anybody tell you that your vote doesn't matter, because it truly does. As always, thank you for watching. You are valuable. You are important. You are loved. We'll see you next week on the Urban Impact Show. Take care.